your idea of Parker, Colorado is downtown Main Street and all the areas everybody already knows, you may be missing one of the most important shifts that is happening right now. More buyers are starting to look around in the Chambers and Crowfoot Road area. The reason's not simple. It's not just because there are newer homes. It's not just because the development's happening. The real question is whether this side of Parker is becoming something buyers should pay attention to now before the story becomes obvious. That's where this is going to get interesting. Buying in an established area, well, that gives you certainty. You can see the roads, the amenities, and all the landscaping, the retail, the daily rhythm, everything almost immediately. But a growing area, that asks a different question. Are you comfortable in buying what exists today while paying attention to what comes next? That could be smart, but it also might be risky, especially if you're chasing future potential. So today, I'm going to walk you through what's happening around Chambers and Crowfoot Road, why more people are starting to watch it, how it compares in Parker, and what some people already know. And here's some things you should probably think through before you decide this is the part of town that actually fits your life. Because when you buy a home, you're not just buying that floor plan, you're buying the area and everything around it. The roads you're going to use, the errands you're going to run, the timing of your day, and that version of Parker that your life is actually going to revolve around. You see, in 5 years from now, that may matter more than the version that caught you when you first purchased. A lot of relocation buyers make one mistake when they first start looking at Parker. They treat it like one market. From a distance, Parker looks very simple. You search the name, you look at homes, you check the prices, you compare the commute time, and you even assume that each part of the town offers the same experience. Once you actually spend time in Parker, that assumption is going to fall apart and you're going to find a different route. The older, more familiar part of Parker, that town has a little bit more specific feel. Main Street's going to have the events, the businesses, local events, and that community character and draw that people tend to picture first. However, the established neighborhoods around town, they're going to offer mature landscaping, familiar streets, and a sense that the area is already settled into itself. Drive a little bit further though, and that story's going to change. Newer communities, the open land, all the construction activity going on, that expanding infrastructure is going to create different experience and feel. Yes, don't get me wrong, it belongs to Parker, but it's going to feel like a different daily experience. That's not bad. It's just something as a buyer you need to understand. You see, because again, people can say they live in Parker, but they can have different routines. One might be closer to older retail areas and established neighborhoods, or the other may be living near a newer area, watching the surrounding area continue to take shape. Believe me, that is not the same lifestyle, even if your mailing address still says Parker. That's why talking about what's happening around Chambers and Crowfoot, those conversations, they matter. This area is going to sit towards the western side of Parker between I-25 and Parker Road. And it's going to feel different between most parts of the town that buyers recognize first when they come to Parker. When you drive through, that word that comes to mind, well, it's momentum. They are building. There's definitely newer housing activity, visible growth, and a sense that that area is becoming something and growing. That word is going to matter, becoming. An established area is going to show you exactly what you're buying into today. A growth corridor requires more thought because part of the value conversation is tied to how the area could mature over time. Here's the danger, assuming that growth automatically means opportunity over time, and it definitely does not. Growth is going to create convenience, services, long-term demand. It will also bring construction, changing traffic patterns, unknown timing, change, and a period where buyers can expect maybe things not to be as what was planned originally. So the question shouldn't be, is the area growing? The question should be, would I still be happy here, even if the future still takes or is longer than expected? That one question can protect you from a lot of bad assumptions, especially when you're dealing with the biggest financial decision of your life. That said, it's because future plans are never the same as what your daily life is going to be like. You don't live inside a projected retail center. You're not inside the development map. You live in the home, on the streets, in the neighborhood, with services that expected or were there when you moved in and purchased. The future improvement around you, that can be a bonus, but it shouldn't be the only reason that decision is going to make sense. That's the mindset I want you to bring and get when you're looking in the Chambers and Crowfoot area road development area. Now, let's talk about why the buyers are paying attention in the first place. A few years ago, many buyers were just entirely focused on just the house. The bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, finishes, lot size. Those things definitely still matter, of course, but the conversation's changed. More people look beyond the house, and the question I get is, Dave, where's the market moving to? Where's new inventory existing? What am I competing with? And what's the town and the area gonna look like in the next 5 years? Doesn't mean that we're trying to predict the future. Smarter buyers are doing something more practical. They're asking, what am I getting today? And how's that gonna improve my situation and my home over time? That's gonna be a healthier and smarter way to evaluate a growing area. With this area in Chambers and Crowfoot and that all the new build going on, this offers a different experience than what buyers have expected over time. It's definitely not downtown Parker. It's not the same as most mature neighborhoods people already know. The appeal is going to be tied to the newer housing, the variety you get, the 55 and older community that's going in there. All of the expanding areas and possibilities gain more momentum over time. For that right buyer, it's going to definitely be appealing. Somebody who wants everything fully finished, well, on day one, they may feel differently. That decision definitely matters because this is not a one size or one home fits all decision for this community. A buyer who loves mature trees, a known neighborhood, established, lots of community around it, may be happier in a different part of Parker. Another person may be drawn to newer homes, cleaner layout, straight lines, future growth, and that idea that surrounding areas may continue to improve during their time of ownership. Neither buyer is going to be wrong. The issue is going to come when someone chooses one experience but expects the other. And believe me, that happens more often than people realize. A buyer walks into a new home. The finishes look good. They love the layout. Everything just fits for them. Daily life starts right off the bat. But they begin to notice what hasn't been built around them yet. Certain places and errands take a lot longer than expected. A road that maybe started out easy becomes part of that weekly routine. That surrounding area still feels younger than they pictured. Nothing is necessarily wrong. The mismatch just comes from misreading your expectation. That is why I would rather have buyers understand that trade-off clearly before they make a decision on the house. Let's compare those two different decisions. One buyer chooses a more established part of town and it feels settled for them. Those nearby services, they're already in place. They can see that full picture immediately. There's comfort in that. Daily routine is easy because most of those surrounding pieces, they already exist. Another buyer chooses a growth corridor around the Chambers and Crowfoot area. That home may be newer, the area maybe feels more open. There may be more visible change happening. Maybe the roads are getting a little busier. The decision includes a little bit more patience because the area is still developing, trying to find how it looks and feels in the area. Same town, different buyer experience. Now let's think about how that plays out over the first year. During that first 30 days, the new area feels exciting. It's a fresh home, the neighborhood is sharp, it feels clean, a sense of possibility around everything. But around that 60-day mark, you're settled a little bit. Routine starts to matter more. You begin noticing your drives, your errands, and how often you're in and out of the neighborhood and in and out of Parker. By 90 days though, that question becomes clear. Did you buy in an area that actually fits your life today? Or were you mostly excited about what it could become later? That is the dividing line. A strong decision holds up even before the future arrives. If you're looking in the Chambers and Crowfoot corridor, I wouldn't start at the model home. I'd start at how your week looks and how you live. How much unfinished growth are you comfortable living in? Those questions may not be as fun as choosing finishes and countertops, but they do matter more because after all, once you move in, the house becomes normal, your choices. Your routine, it stays active now every day. Now, let's talk about what you should evaluate beyond the home itself. Start with the road connectivity. In a growth area, the roads and accesses are going to matter. Access points, traffic flow, future improvements, and how easily you can access and reach the rest of Parker all shape your daily life. A beautiful home is still gonna feel frustrating if you can't get out or match your daily routine. Next, let's look at existing services. Not what might be here someday, what's actually here now. Grocery options, daily fitness, healthcare, and all of those places that you use without ever even thinking about it. If those things are already convenient enough for your life, then the future growth has become the added benefit. If they're not, then you need to be honest with yourself as to whether or not that gap is going to bother you. The third piece, as always, in a new area is construction tolerance. Some buyers, they're completely fine living near active growth. It's part of the process. Others find the ping of nails and lumber irritating after a few months. Trucks, road work, continued landscape, all changing, moving around, dirt work. really can be an unexpected feel. That other factor is going to be resale positioning. I'm not talking about a crystal ball, I'm predicting appreciation. What you can evaluate is whether the area has ingredients that future buyers are going to care about when it's time for you to sell. The access, newer inventory, services, livability, and that clear sense of direction of where the community is going. Finally, let's think about that overall identity. Growth areas are still forming theirs. That can be very exciting, but it can also create a lot of uncertainty. You need to decide whether you want to live in an area that's already defined or an area that's still being defined. That will become a very personal decision. Now, who should be looking at this new construction corridor? This area is going to make total sense if you like newer housing opportunities and you're comfortable with growth all around you, and you don't need every surrounding amenity and option fully matured and ready to go on day one. It may also appeal to buyers thinking long-term, especially if you're willing to watch an area develop over several years, rather than needing that complete picture finished immediately. A different buyer might struggle here. Someone who's looking for mature landscape and a fully established retail pattern in a neighborhood that already feels settled, they might be happier somewhere else in Parker. That doesn't mean this area is bad, it just means that that experience may not match what their expectation is. That is my entire point. The goal isn't to decide whether this Chambers and Crowfoot corridor is good or bad. The goal is to decide what kind of decision it represents for you. Buying in a growth corridor requires a different mindset than buying in an established neighborhood. In fact, you need to be comfortable in today's reality. You've got to understand those trade-offs. Those future improvements should feel like upside, not the only reason that the purchase makes sense. That brings me back to that most important test. If nothing major changes for the next few years, would you still be happy living here? If the answer is yes, then that future becomes a bonus. Additional development, improved services, and a stronger local identity may only strengthen that decision over time. A no answer, that should slow you down. Buying only because of what an area might become could be a huge disappointment, especially if your timelines change, life events, or it feels differently than what you expected. That, my friends, is how people end up regretting a location, even if they still love the house. Now, one more thing to keep in mind. Growth areas can be emotionally persuasive. New construction is always going to feel clean, and that future plan always creates optimism. Sales centers, they are designed to imagine what the community could become. None of it's wrong. You just need to be able to separate your emotions from evaluation. Walking the area, driving the routes, visit during every time of the day. Check how long your commute and errands take. Pay attention to what's already working and what feels unfinished. Then ask whether the area fits your life without everything else being done and arrived. That's going to be the cleanest way to make that decision. So yes, the Chambers Crowfoot corridor is worth watching. It represents that newer side of Parker, and buyers are definitely paying attention for a good reason. But watching an area versus buying in it, they are definitely not the same thing. Before you make your move, understand what exists today, what's still developing, and how that difference really affects your daily life. If the current version already works for you, the growth story may make the area more interesting to you. But if you're only excited about that future version, please take your time, because a smart real estate decision is not built on hype, it's built on fit. On Parker, well, it's grown enough that choosing the right part of town, well, it matters just as much as choosing the right house. In upcoming videos, I'll break down more areas in Parker's specific neighborhoods, and you can see how each one actually lives, not just how it's going to look online. If you're trying to understand where Parker's heading and what makes sense for your goals, this is the exact conversation we want to have before we start chasing comps. Because the right location should make sense today, not just someday.